That's not gonna make it that critical.
Yeah. You're right.
Just don't take it. Yeah. Okay.
So no action on this point, and we need to go into the minutes. Yes. So there's one. I'm sorry.
Wait, we move on.
Yes. One extra training related item. You may recall discussion that led to making the adjustment to the county overnight travel policy last year. At that time, there was discussion that all caseworkers hired by DSS are required to attend multiple weeks of training where the overnight stay was paid for by the state with a double occupancy caveat for anyone attending the training. This meant that attendees from different counties could be required to stay in the same room. Due to the pandemic, the state had temporarily waived the double occupancy requirement. With the start of 2023, the state, in this case, the Office of Children and Family Services, reverted to the required double occupancy, which they pay for. All things being equal, since the modification of the Washington County policy, it is understood that the county would pay for the difference in the rate for a single occupancy. The sticking point of this is that the vast majority of the trainings are held at a training center in the outskirts of Rensselaer. The state policy is to provide accommodations for trainees traveling from outside of 50-mile radius. The county policy is specific to travel outside of a 60-mile radius. The OCFS training center is 57.1 miles away from the county building. At this time, we would like to make a request for a blanket approval to pay for the single supplement rate for all those overnight trainings that are within the 60-mile radius.
So currently the policy states that if there is travel or an overnight stay request within 60 miles, it has to come to committee for your approval to allow for overnight stays. And that's been happening little by little. Now that the training is within that 60-mile radius and you do send people often, Tammy did discuss that with me, and it seems like it makes more sense if the committee wants to approve a blanket to allow those overnight stays. I mean, it's mandated training that we need to send them to, but it happens quite often. So if she could receive the approval to allow those people to have those overnight stays, then that'll just make the process a little smoother.
So if we send two to the other states.
So really, I don't have a problem with that because you're going from Fort Edward and how many of our employees are north of Fort
That's
Edward?
why.
So you're already a 60-mile drive. It only takes a little bit of distance. I don't have a problem.
So is there a motion?
I'm,
Okay.
I don't know why y'all look at me.
This is to that. If it's.
You're covering
Something
up.
that's only 40 miles away. If we do a blanket one like this, how do you different?
I think we said a blanket one for TSS.
Right, but
It is
what
a
if it's only 40 miles away next year?
Bring it over to you. There you go.
You do what?
I'll make the motion to do this for a blanket one for this year with an
There you
annual
go.
review.
I can live with that.
Is it something that can be put into the travel plan request? For at budget time?
Look at you go. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
That's good time. Bring it over to you.
Sam?
Chairman, do we need to also address the individuals being able to get to own room and not having double occupancy?
That's already been.
That's already been addressed, okay. So which has been a thing that's-
Yeah.
You should require anybody else to have to stay with somebody else.
And when the committee approved that, or the board approved it last year, we realized that there was going to be a cost to that, to allowing people to have their own rooms.
Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. The last item are resolution submissions. There is a combination of budget amendments and carryover funding. So my understanding is they've been provided to each of you in your packet. The first item is carryover remaining 2022 Adult Protective Services Grant number 1 funds to the 2023 budget.
Is there anyone that's not for carryover?
There are.
That would be the main budget. I was wondering how to drink.
Okay, so I believe there are two carryovers. The carryover of the rent supplemental program funds too, so there's the two carryover requests.
So we have a motion on the table for the two carryovers. We have a second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
The next request is to amend the 2022 budget for youth placed in Office of Family, Children and Family Services, OCFS custody. OCFS bill totals $154,437.84. An additional $78,437.84 is needed to cover the expense.
Move it. And do we have a second? Any discussion?
I'm sure that you see it, but she's not looking for any new money. She's transferring between lines with some Medicaid savings.
Okay, all in favor?
The next one is to amend the 2022 budget to recognize the credit of emergency solutions grant, the ESG funds, due to a transfer of remaining 2020 and 2021 code blue funds by the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
And the last amendment request is to amend the 2023 budget to recognize the credit of emergency solutions grant, ESG funds, due to a transfer of remaining 2020-2021 code blue funds by the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance.
I'll move it.
Any second? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Any other questions for David? Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sammy, and for you.
Oh, my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we have other business, and I saw Shelley Smith here before the executive session. I don't know if she had something from late, but it looks like she maybe. So you think she's gone, right? So- Okay, so we're adjourned. Yes, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jean.